Hello, everyone, and welcome to Molehill Mountain, episode 142. Andrew Eisen here, along with Zachary Knight. Hello, Zachary.
Hello, Andrew. Hello, everybody out there.
I would write to in the chat.
Yeah.
I'm going on business trips, and I don't wanna because they require airplanes, and they just take time out of my day, and I'm afraid my project managers are going to be like, "Send Andrew on a business trip." And then Andrew goes on a business trip, and they'll be like, "Why is none of Andrew's work getting done?" It's like, I'm on a business trip. I can't do both.
Yeah, I'm going on I guess it's a business trip. In 2 weeks, my boss is flying me out to their Boston office, and they're doing some kind of big engineer training day that day. So they wanted me out there for it. So
Snake says smoke some weed because it's legal here, which is true. But I can't stand the smell of marijuana, so I probably would not enjoy smoking it.
you can always
You can,
brownies.
and that's true, and I've had friends suggest that, but and not really for me. The funniest thing, it's like you might say, well, Andrew, you're obviously around some low quality MJ if you think it smells bad. No, I've been around what I'm assured is the good stuff, and I still think it smells awful. A friend of mine, I've sat next to her while she prepares her joint. I guess you don't get marijuana prefabbed into smokable cigarettes. You get the buds of stuff, and you got to get your own paper and a little bowl thing and a tampy stick, and sits there for like 10 damn minutes, sitting there, pour the stuff in, tamp it down with the thing, pour it in the paper, roll it up, twist the side, do the thing. I'm like, oh my god! Even if I wanted to, I do not have the patience for that. Where's the Lunchables version of marijuana? Just the ready to smoke variety. I do not want to put that much effort into my weed.
Yeah.
The Snake says the worse it smells, the better it is. Well, then my buddy has one. I was about to name drop her, but I guess maybe I shouldn't, although it doesn't really matter. Oh, she's got the good stuff. Although I will. She's a novice. Oh, she is a connoisseur. Unless you mean novice in the sense that it takes her 10 minutes to get a joint going. You legit just unwrap a tobacco joint, grind it up in a grinder, bam, it's done. Oh no, she's got a procedure. It's like a ritual. I mean, she doesn't go so far as to like light candles and draw a pentagram on the floor or something like that, but it's a whole to do.
Yeah.
Me, I'm like, no. Anyway, one funny story is she got. I've probably told this before because it is pretty funny. She got pot brownies once, and this could be totally untrue. She could be lying to me. I don't know, but she told me she bought some pot brownies, and it came in a pack of 4. And the person who sold them to her said, "Okay, now this is some high quality, potent stuff. So eat one. One. You're gonna want to eat more than that. Eat one. One will do you good. One is all you need." So she went home and she ate all 4 of them, which I hear is kind of a problem when you're high. And she fell asleep and woke up 15 hours later. You nut.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't eat any. I wasn't even there. This is something she told me later. Anyway, that's enough of our pot. Unless you have fun pot stories.
No.
No.
No, but I do have a kettle that calls it black. So
Nice. So let's see. I finished. What did I play? Murdered Soul Suspect, which I kind of want to call the best game ever because you can possess a cat and there's a dedicated meow button, and that's pretty awesome.
that is kind of neat.
Yeah, but I'll say the game is worth a look. But it's not great. It's a Scotty says, "Wait a minute, who's smoking weed? No one on this podcast right now. At least none of
No.
the hosts." Um, Snake says, "Hey Andrew, tell your friend an online stranger named Snake called her a weed novice." All right. Um,
Uh,
what was I? Murdered soul suspect. I talked about this a little bit last week, so I'll be brief. I did finish the game. Um, it's a great foundation. It's one of those games that is not quite there, but it has such a solid foundation that you kind of want them to go for part two to just try it again, use what they
mhm.
learned from what worked and what didn't from the first game. I think Murdered Soul Suspect could have a really really good sequel.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the first one falls short in a lot of areas, namely a lot of the gameplay, which is kind of the area you don't want to fall short in. It has a lot of really great ideas and it executes some of them very well, but um, it 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 does it. It doesn't quite get there. Although I
Yeah.
will say, because you're a ghost, clipping is not a problem in this game because you just walk through all of the walls and objects. So it's really not. It's like, oh, look at all the clipping. No, you're a ghost. You see, so it's okay. Oh,
Yeah. See that what really happened is that the developers couldn't fix any of the clipping bugs, so they just said, you know what, screw it, let's make the main character a ghost, and we'll build a game around that.
yeah.
And yeah,
Snake says the game's not speaking to him. Yeah, I bought it for $2 on the PSN because it was $2. Can't go wrong for $2. I think for $2,
yeah,
it's worth a look because it does a lot of really interesting things. But um, I wouldn't pay more than 5 for it, and but I'm also cheap. Um, there's a lot great in it. Some of the story is pretty good. The voice acting is really genuinely solid. I talked about this last week, but a lot of the individual moments in the game are genuinely creepy and or impactful. So it does a lot right. It doesn't really come together as well as you want it to, and some of the gameplay, while it has a good idea, just doesn't execute it quite properly, which is a shame.
yeah.
But oh well, you know, life moves on. So, what about you, Zachary? Play anything interesting this week?
Started playing um, Ocarina of Time again, so I didn't get to play too much of it this week, but I'm like, I'm gonna try to play more of it. I got to the Forest Temple, and that's about as far as I got. So nothing too exciting there, but I got the hook shot, and then I went to get a one of the golden spider things. I
Skulltula.
forget. Skulltulas. I went to go get one, and it's like I used my hook shot on the thing, and I didn't read the message properly, and it's been a while since I played the game, so I forgot what it actually says, and all I caught was I destroyed the gold Skulltula, and I'm just like, crap, the hook shot, the hook shot destroys these things, and I restarted my game, and then I did the same thing, and I was just like, no, wait, no,
Oh,
that
you destroy him and it leaves behind a coin that you grab,
yeah,
or the icon.
but the message says you destroyed a gold Skulltula, and you got this as your token or whatever it is. And I didn't read the whole message, and it kind of freaked me out because the guide that I had it listed as like number 45, but I only had 44 in my inventory, and so I was just like, wait a minute, did I actually destroy that? And then I realized, no, I'm like one behind whatever the guide is, whatever the guide has. But I think it was just I skipped one that was just a really big pain in the butt to try to get to or something earlier in the game, and said, screw it, I'm not going to try to get all of them anyways. So
I remember there being one. I'm trying to think of how it works. Can you destroy the Skulltula, but you have to physically touch the emblem or coin thing to collect it, or can you collect
no,
that
you can
with
use the
a shot?
boomerang and the hook shot
Hmm.
to get it.
'Cause it seems to me there, and maybe I'm thinking of a different game, but it seems to me I like killed a Skulltula. There was the token, and I couldn't get to it. But if you can use a boomerang or a hook shot, I don't. I might be thinking of another game where I
Yeah,
revealed a collectible prize, but then found out that it was like on a ledge somewhere where I couldn't get to because I didn't do it right.
yeah,
Might not be remembering that correctly.
yeah. I don't know, but yeah, it was just kind of neat. Just it freaked me out, and and then I realized, nope, I didn't have to worry about that at all. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny. Um, but yeah, other than that, haven't played too many new games today. Today it rained all day, and today was Pokemon Go's Community Day, where they feature Pokemon, and you can get the shiny version of it and a special move for it and all that stuff. But it was raining all day, so
I
I didn't stay out the
I
whole
don't
time.
really
No.
get shinies because they're typically not shiny. They're just slightly different colors.
Yeah, it's just shiny is just the term I guess the community gave it.
I
But
expected like sparkles or something,
yeah,
glowing and with little sparkly things coming. I'm like, no,
yeah.
this Pikachu is just kind of more of a mustard yellow. What is this?
Yeah, some of them are pretty lame. Like Pikachu, I think is one of the lamest shinies. But some of them are like really nice looking, like Sandshrew. Um, well, I guess it's Sand Slash is the evolved form, but Sandshrew starts off as kind of a pea green, and then but Sand Slash um, has the yellow body, but has red spines instead of brown spines, and it just looks great. I like that look, and yeah, but it's like the early games, like the ones on the Game Boy Color. That's when they started doing the shinies. They just bit shifted the. It's like each sprite had a set palette of I don't know how many colors, but X number of colors, but they could only shift the colors within that palette. And so some of them look really lousy, like Pikachu, because there weren't any real colors to shift. Although they could have done something like swap the yellow and black, or that would have been kind of neat. But yeah, the rest of them are a lot of them are really stupid, and there's so many freaking green shiny Pokemon, and it's
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I've seen some of those where the original Pokemon's like like blue or something. It changes to green for the shiny.
Yeah,
We're going to try to shiny Pokemon have a burst of sparkles that appear when they enter a fight, so that's something.
yeah, like yeah. When in Pokemon Go, they you when you encounter a Pokemon and it's shiny, it flashes a circle of sparkles, and then there's an icon there because it's like if you miss that circle of sparkles on a shiny Pikachu, you wouldn't know that you are encountering a shiny Pikachu. Same thing for Squirtle, because the only difference between a shiny Squirtle and a Squirtle is the color of the shell, the back shell,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't see the back shell in an encounter
Because
with
it's
a
standing
Squirtle
up and
because it's
facing you.
standing and
Right.
facing you. Yeah, um, and some of them are a little harder to tell the difference. Like Bulbasaur, the green that Bulbasaur is just a slightly different shade. It's noticeable if you know what you're looking for, but if you're just kind of mindlessly catching Pokemon, you wouldn't know. But yeah, some Pokemon just have really ugly shinies, like Nidoqueen. Oh, that one is terrible because
I don't even want that shiny. It's dumb looking.
well, it's so Nidoran, the female line, are blue, and then it's all blue across the board. But the shiny ones, they're pink, So the female Nidoran and Nidorina are pink, but then when you get the Nidoqueen, it turns green with a pink bikini look,
Ah,
and I'm just like, that is completely stupid. I would have been fine if it was pink with like the green bikini area, but it went green with the pink bikini, and I just thought that was completely stupid, and just makes it to where if I ever catch one, I'm not going to evolve it all the way unless I get three of them.
I will grind it up into candy and feed it to the rest
Yeah,
of my Pokemon.
but but today it was raining. I went to some areas that I could park at some Pokestops, catch the Pokemon, drive to the next area where I could park at some Pokestops and catch the Pokemon there, um, because that's the only way to play when it's raining. And I managed to get some shinies, but it was just I was only out for like an hour out of the 3 hours because I was
Hmm.
done after that.
Well, speaking of Pokemon, I mentioned this on Twitter, but I'm super stoked to see the Detective Pikachu movie, and I don't even like Pokemon. Um,
Oh, it looks great.
it's got Magikarp in it.
Yeah.
Just
Um,
flying around. Oh,
yeah.
it's so great.
I read Peter Jackson, I think, or somebody like the director of Kong Skull, or one of the King Kong movies, um, said that I read that he saw an early screening or something, and he said that the video game movie curse is officially broken with this one, and so
There have been plenty of watchable video game,
yeah, but this is an
movie
actual
video game adaptations,
video game adaptation.
but yeah, I don't know if I'd call. There are ones I like, but I don't know if I'd call any of them genuinely good.
Yeah.
At least none come to mind.
I enjoy the Mario Brothers movie. I
Oh,
like it for
sure,
I like it for what it is.
but
For an
it is
adaptation,
objectively not good.
yeah, it's objectively not a good adaptation, and I guess it could be objectively not a good movie, but I still enjoy it. I
Um,
like Howard the Duck too.
I
So
noticed that some Snake's bringing up in the chat. I noticed that Sega's still not releasing any footage of Sonic the Hedgehog.
yeah, no Sonic the Hedgehog footage. We still don't have a proper trailer.
I still
We
say
don't
that
have official art.
yeah, Detective Pikachu may break the curse, but I think Sonic may reestablish it.
Yeah, man, yeah, that Sonic one, that's scary. Yeah, I think if they just went with a fully like 3D animated Pixar slash DreamWorks style movie with it, I think it would have been okay. But the fact that they're trying to do a live action with a CGI Sonic, I think that's what's screwing
You
me up.
know, I mean, it could work, but um, you gotta Sonic's got to be Sonic, and the designs that we've all seen are just
They're not
bad.
Sonic, yeah.
They look like they're
Not even,
studio noted to death.
yeah.
I mean, I don't I'm loath to blame any of the artists. They probably had a cool design and then they got a bunch of studio notes. It's like no, you got to separate the eyes. No, make them leaner and taller. It's like oh god, it's no, yeah, give them a defined buttocks, whatever. Oh, hi, Kenny. What is this stream about? The most important things in the world. So, you know,
Pop
video games
culture,
and
video
Star
games,
Wars and
movies, that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Just the fun things that are fun to talk about. So, video games, movies, things like that.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Shazam! You have seen Shazam.
Woo!
So,
Yes, I
the
have.
other Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I actually
So,
saw it last week on opening night. So, yeah, I've had plenty of time to think about it. So,
for anyone who wasn't here last week, I too have seen Shazam, and quite liked it. Quite liked it.
oh
I
yes,
My thought is, it's a better movie than Aquaman, but I kind of enjoyed Aquaman more.
I can totally relate to that. It's very hard for me because so far we have out of this DC movie universe, we have three good films: Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam, and everything else is uh, is objectively bad. Um, but yeah, all three of those films are good in their own rights. They have their they have their excellent qualities. What makes them stand out from and stand out and above all the other DC movies that Warner Brothers tried to shove out.
Well, I'll tell you, Wonder Woman, Shazam, and Aquaman make me excited for more DC superheroes.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, Wonder Woman is that period piece with lots of great action, some cheesy action, but some
Yeah.
some fun action, and it's a great, it tells us who Wonder Woman is. Well, I guess it shows us who Wonder Woman is, um, and a lot better than Batman v Superman and Justice League ever did. Um, but uh, but yeah, Aquaman was just totally fun. Great
Tough as
take
a
on
rock, but
Aquaman.
I just had a blast with it. It
Yeah,
reminds me a lot of Iron Man 3, another movie that is phenomenally stupid, but just a lot of fun anyway.
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Stupid in different ways, though.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But Shazam, I thought was just so much fun. It was hilarious. It had its it had its serious moments, but they were serious moments that felt real for the characters that
Yeah,
were in them. You never got the impression that these were just things that were happening. These were things that were happening for a reason. They helped with the character growth and of pretty much everybody. I think most of the characters got character growth, other than the two of the brothers. Um, I don't even know their names. Video game kid and fat guy didn't really have have much characterization in the film, other than video games and quiet fat
Gene
kid.
and Pedro,
I,
I think.
something like that. I
I mean,
don't know.
yeah, they had like one or two moments, but I mean that's a lot of people for one movie, so
Yeah,
it
it
doesn't there
definitely was,
totally
but
surprise me.
yeah,
But I think I think the idea of a family unit came across, even
y-
if some of the individuals got the short shrift.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think that does make sense. Yeah, um, and Billy as the
Ooh,
superhero.
according to Jess, I was right. Haha.
Pedro and Eugene. Okay. Um,
Amazed I remembered that.
yeah, I couldn't remember their names off the top of my head at all. But yeah, I liked all of them, and so Darla was the little girl,
I
or
think.
Dar. Yeah, sorry, addicted. Correct us, but um, but yeah, she was cute and hilarious,
How
and
many times does Shazam floss in the movie? Just once. And
yeah,
it's
yeah. There's just
very
that
brief.
once, and it's very brief. They do a training montage thing, and and it's like at the opening of the first video they do, he flosses, and then he goes into the training. Well, I guess not really training, but superpower test montage.
You know what one of my favorite things about the movie, and it's something that almost doesn't matter at all, is it takes place in Philadelphia. And I don't really care about Philadelphia so much, eh, other than it's not New York
Yeah.
or
Well,
Los
and
Angeles.
it's not Fawcett City, or is it Fawcett? I know it's Fawcett Comics is what
Is it Fawcett
what
City? I think it's literally Philadelphia in the film, though.
Yeah. They go with real life Philadelphia, and there was one scene too. It's like, they're at the top of the stairs that Rocky,
Mhm.
in his training thing, he goes up and he's like, "Grr," and and
Maybe Fawcett City neighbors Philadelphia.
yeah, maybe, but in the movie, Freddy and Shazam, Billy as Shazam, are sitting at the top of those stairs, and it's like, wow, this is a great view. I finally understand why Rocky worked so hard to get up these stairs. I'm just like, I just thought that was the most hilarious line ever, because it just, because it's not, that wasn't his goal. It's just, but yeah, it was. I thought that was a funny line. I busted out. I can't remember if I was the only one in the theater laughing at that or not, but I thought it was hilarious. Um,
Since we're discussing the man-child topic, was Red Skull the true hero and Captain America the villain? No.
mm,
End of discussion.
yeah, yeah.
But
So,
yeah,
what did you think of Savannah as the villain?
um, nothing like the character in the comic that I remember, but that's okay. I mean, as I recall, the comic characters like your stereotypical
Mad
mad
science.
scientist dude,
Yeah.
and this is not that. I talked about this a little bit last week, but actually, no, I didn't. I was talking about how Shazam, the actual wizard, is a horrible asshole who has traumatized dozens, if not hundreds, of children.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I thought was kind of crazy, because you see, you know with Savannah, when he was a kid, he goes in there, and then he fails Shazam's test, and then he spends the rest of his life feeling like a failure, because
My mother, my brother, and a magical wizard all tell me that I'm not good enough and I never will be.
exactly. So yeah,
That's gotta give a kid a complex. Shazam, what are you doing, dude?
yeah, and then you go to, present day, where Savannah is using some research, uh, some research study thing to find other people who've had the same experience, and it's just like, you see this wall of like dozens upon dozens of people who've had a similar
Yeah,
experience,
I
and it's
think
like,
he alone has found like 50 or 60 some odd cases of, and it's got to be more than that. And I have to imagine Shazam has been doing this for more than 40 years. It
oh
isn't
yeah,
just a recent thing. He's like been doing this for hundreds, maybe thousands of years, traumatizing poor children and giving them inferiority complexes.
yeah. Well, Black Adam said this movie pretty closely follows Shazam's New 52 origins,
Yeah,
except
I
Black
actually found that out afterwards, and I'm not really familiar with the 52 version at all. In fact, the entire Foster family is right out of the comics,
Yeah,
which I found
but
out later. I was like, oh, these characters are all great, and then
yeah,
I realized
but
it's the new 52 characters, which is fine. But
Black Adam isn't in the film, but he is part of the story, because when Shazam meets Billy, he tells the tale of uh, an older Shazam, a Shazam from a long ago, that took the power and used it for personal revenge, and that took the all seven Shazam guardians to to take him down, and it's not name dropped as Black Adam, but it's heavily implied that yes, that's Black Adam. So
didn't he marry Isis or someone? Didn't
I
Isis
have no
look
idea.
up, or maybe I'm getting her name wrong?
Yeah.
Oh well. Okay, so
My
she's.
thoughts on Savannah, real quick,
Oh,
though, is that I thought he worked as a foil for Shazam, even though he was a pretty shallow villain, characterization wise, because we really didn't get to know him so much other than to know that he was abused
Yeah,
emotionally and mentally as a child, and and that has caused him to to seek after power.
yeah,
This
it's an interesting thought.
power
Did
that
this guy do anything else with his life at all? But I mean, it
apparently
is
not.
kind of a stuffed movie with a foster family of you know 6, 7
Yeah,
people.
but he was a pretty terrifying villain, or at
Oh,
least
Armstrong's pretty good.
yeah, and for Shazam to go up against, I thought he was great, and the fact that he doesn't die is also a big plus because I'm kind of tired of comic book movies killing off their villains, at least the good ones. But,
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead and kill the ones that don't like that one. That's fine.
yeah, yeah, because
So
it's like kill off Crossbones, but we keep Batroc the Leaper alive, and
although I'm okay with Batroc still being alive.
yeah, but yeah,
All right, so let us move on, or we will never get through our topic.
yeah,
So, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the Sega Genesis Mini and the 10 games that are. It's going to have 40 in total. Sega has, unless it's some changed in the last 2 weeks, only announced 10 of them. So we
yeah.
thought
They
it would be
haven't
fun.
announced any more, so
Yeah, we thought it would be fun to take a shot in the dark and predict or guess or wish list perhaps what the other 30 games may be. Now, I'm a Nintendo guy, so this was actually
same for me.
difficult in a
Yeah,
sense because I got to about 15 or so pretty easily, and then I started having to look up games because I'm like, I don't know.
yeah.
Um,
I went through the lists and lists that I could find, and I'm just like, okay. So I wasn't a Sega fan in early in life. So which games would I want to play if I had them? And that's kind of where I came from when I created my list. So so how
yeah.
do you want to do this? We got
Uh,
30 games each,
Yeah, let
and
me just respond to DG here real quick, saying I've not experienced the glory of CC Beck's Shazam comic, and you're right, I've not. I've actually not read any of the Shazam's comics. I'm just familiar with it just through cultural osmosis, mostly.
yeah,
Um,
my familiarity with Shazam is mostly through the Justice League cartoons and the animated movies. I don't have uh, a lot of connection with it comic book wise.
yeah.
I do like Shazam in Young Justice. He was a really fun character in that cartoon.
All I know about Shazam is Superman killed him dead in Injustice 2.
Oh, and Wonder Woman slaughtered him pretty bad in Flashpoint.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I did not like that, especially the. I haven't read the book, but I saw the DC's animated film, and I did
Oh
not.
yeah. Well, and it was
Felt
like it
really
was revealed that like she got him to say Shazam and release his power, and it turned out he was actually like five
Oh,
kids
like
in one
yeah, I
or
think it
something
was probably
like
his
that.
whole foster family just into
Yeah.
one Shazam or some weird thing.
Yeah,
Or
that was crazy. But yeah.
anyway, back to DC saying, imagine having brand royalty. Yes, the brand loyalty. We got jobs and money now. All systems are at our disposal, which is true, but was not true back when I was a kid. So I had to pick one, and I picked Nintendo. So
Yeah.
Nintendo was what I had, which was actually my cousin's Nintendo because we couldn't afford it. Luckily, my cousin, got one for Christmas. The NES was from my neighbor Matt, who outgrew it and gave it to me. And then the Super NES was from my cousin Pat, who just played with it for like a year and then gifted it to me. And then when I was 16, I bought the N64 myself. It was
Yeah, I
it
went
was
to the
my first
PlayStation
major purchase.
Yeah, I went to the PlayStation 1. I followed the RPGs. So,
So my thought for how I constructed my list was I aired mostly on the side of games that Sega either developed or published. I do have a couple that are Capcom. I have one Capcom. I think I have two Konami games. But almost all of them are at least published
Yeah.
in at least one territory by
Yeah. You also
by Sega.
have more licensed IPs than I did. So like, but
Yeah, yeah. So all right,
we'll
let's I
get
guess
into
go
that.
through in alphabetical order here. The first one is something we both had.
Yeah.
Maybe not too terribly surprisingly. But, oops, hey, wrong page, wrong page. Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle, which I've never
Yeah.
played, but I've heard a lot about.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about it, and it's one that I see in just about every Sega Genesis compilation that you can purchase, and I'm just like, there's no way Sega's going to leave that one off if they're already putting it in every compilation that they put out. So, it looks fun. I actually, I've got the at games Sega thing back there, and it's one of the games on there, and one of these days I'll get around to actually playing it. But
I
I,
actually considered putting Action 52 on there, which is that unlicensed compilation of a bunch of garbage, including Cheetah Men. But if I said, no, that would never get on there. It
yeah,
would be funny though. So the next one is where we diverge a little bit.
yeah,
I picked Alicia Dragoon.
yeah. I
Uh,
had to look that one up after you
yeah,
put that in
which
there, and
is something I found just kind of browsing around the list, and I thought it sounded interesting and it had some attractive box art. And it's about a gal with a sword who has like little monster pets who wander around hitting enemies on the screen. I'm like, well, that looks kind of fun.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
I,
put it
I
on.
looked at the video. Yeah, I looked at a video, a gameplay video of it after I saw it on your list, and I was just like, huh, that does look kind of fun. I'll have to get that one a try too. But it didn't make it on my list because I had written my list before then. So my next game is Beyond Oasis, and it's a top-down adventure game, like Zelda style game, and I love those kind of games, so I just had to put that one on there, and it's got a cool, it's a desert theme, um, and desert towns like Agrabah, Egypt, that kind of stuff. And I just thought it looks really good, and I would love to play it. So
All right.
yeah,
My next selection, I put on there Columns, which is a match three puzzler, and I put it on there mainly because I'm like, we need a puzzler on here, and completely forgot we already know that Doctor Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine is on there.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But Columns is one of those classics.
mhm.
It's a when you think of the Sega Genesis or the Sega Game Gear, Columns is Sega's Tetris, and it's a pretty good one. It's on my list as well. So, but uh, but yeah, some of these games I'm gonna have to remember what they are. But Blaster Master 2 is mine. My
Which
next,
I honestly completely forgot about until you added it.
yeah. Yeah, so I had Columns on there as well, but I have a Blaster Master 2, and that's that's a fun 2D platformer, and I just you drive around in like a tank of some sort, and it just looks like it's just a lot of fun to explore and play. So I had to put that one on there.
All right. My next one will make Chaos happy. Contra Hardcore, um, which
Yeah.
which of course is a Konami game, but I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I don't think getting some of these games are going to be a problem from other publishers because Konami, I don't think would have an issue, um, letting Sega put that on there
They
because
they
yeah,
don't seem to be particularly protective of their IP. They're like Metal Gear Solid on a slot machine. Eh. Sure,
Yeah.
whatever.
All right.
Silent
So,
Hill and Pachinko, fine. If the money is there, we do not care.
all right. So your next game on your list is Ghostbusters. Why do you think they would put Ghostbusters on there?
It's actually now I'm a huge Ghostbusters fanboy. I love Ghostbusters, and this is actually I think one of the more interesting Ghostbusters video games. It has a really I think attractive cartoony style,
Yeah.
and it's Ghostbusters, and it's actually developed and published by Sega. So I thought, why the hell not? I mean,
Okay.
there might still be some licensing things to work out to re-release the game, like music and likenesses and stuff.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I'm
maybe it is a stretch, but
yeah, I'm looking at some screenshots, and yeah, the sprites look very interesting. You know, the the sprites of the Ghostbusters themselves are they got the big heads and on little bodies, but it looks kind of neat, and I like some of the ghost work in here,
yeah.
ghost designs. I didn't think about that. I didn't take too much of a look at it because the NES Ghostbusters were just garbage. Um,
I
but
forced myself to like them, like like Ghostbusters 2 and Ghostbusters 2016.
yeah,
I will like everything Ghostbusters.
yeah.
I ensure it.
I still have a fondness for the 2600 Ghostbuster
The
game for the
Atari?
Atari
Oh yeah.
2600.
I have
Yeah,
beat Ghostbusters on the Atari 2600. I've beat it
yeah,
on the both Ghostbusters 1 and 2 on the NES.
yeah.
So, yeah,
All right.
real
So
real gamer. Actually, is that harder? Ghostbusters 2 is actually really hard. Um, Mainly because it doesn't play very well. But the last level is one of those where you have to play through it 4 times for each of the four Ghostbusters.
oh wow.
It is so
Yeah.
obnoxious.
All right. Well, my next game is Crackdown, and this is a game that I have on the at games thing, and I played it with my son, and we both had a lot of fun. It's a top down shooter. What would be a twin stick shooter before we had twin sticks, but yeah, it was just a lot of fun to play. My son and I we made it quite a ways, but we didn't beat it, but it just reminds me a lot of Gauntlet, which is another game that I really love, and and I just think it would make a fun game on there because it's a two player co op type thing, and I enjoy it. So yeah. So what's your next game?
My next game is something that we both. It's an obvious choice. Actually, the
Yeah,
next two are things we both have. Ghouls and Ghosts. Uh, pretty obvious choice there. I think.
yeah,
Uh, Sega game. It's a classic. I would be shocked, I say, if Ghouls and Ghosts was not on this collection.
yeah, yeah. I would be very shocked if it weren't either, because you know the ghouls and ghosts and goblins, those kind of those games are just they're a lot of fun to play, and even and they're also the very difficult games to play. That's one of those games where the difficulty curve is like you start the game and you immediately die. That's how difficult it is. Um, but yeah, but it is an obvious choice, and I would be very surprised if it weren't on there. So I had ghouls and ghosts on there too, but I also had decap attack, and this one is just kind of one of those random picks that I did. I read about decap attack long time ago in a gaming magazine that I had, and it caught my attention. You play as a mummy that throws his flaming head or skull at things as your attack as one of your attacks, and it's just a goofy platformer. It's got some really good sprite work, character, monster designs, that kind of stuff. So I just thought, this should be a game on there, just because it's. I kind of went, for a lot of my list, I went for things, that kind of met the old motto Sega does what Nintendo don't type thing. So that's one of the reasons why I picked that one.
I'm
So
joking with one of our folks in the chat here, and I'm making an obscure reference to the movie Clue, and I'm not sure I'm doing it right because I don't have a chance to look up the exact quote or what the hell Tim Curry gets hit in the head with. But
man, my
anyway,
kid watched the movie Clue a few weeks back,
oh,
and they didn't enjoy it. It's like they couldn't get into it.
you need new children. That's all there is to it.
I think I just need to sit down with them because they were watching it by themselves, and so I think they just couldn't get past the first 30 minutes or whatever because it just they weren't quite understanding the setup. But yeah, all right. But
All
moving
right.
on,
So
both had Golden Axe as our
Golden,
Golden Axe
Golden Axe
2.
2 specifically.
Yeah, specifically. And yeah, I went with the second one because it's one of those games where the second one seems to have
It's an
improved a
improvement
lot
on
on the formula. So
the first.
all right.
So,
And
oh
yeah,
god,
and it's a classic that you kind of know that.
it's another one. At least one of the Golden Axes. If
Yeah.
only one is going to be on there, my money would be on two. So, my next one is Herzog Zwei, which I put on there mainly because it's a strategy game, and uh, variety is the spice of life. It's published by Sega, but only in the North American and PAL territories. Um, who did Technosoft, who I'm not really familiar with, did the game, and I
Yeah.
think published it in Japan. But strategy game. Sega had something to do with publishing it, so that's why I threw it on there.
All right. And your next one is another licensed IP, Jurassic Park.
The reason for that is no, that's another Sega published game. But the reason for that is um, as a kid, I always thought, there was a whole Super NES and Sega war,
Yeah.
and you'd argue with your friends at school which one's better because we were all kids who had no money, and so you had one,
Yeah.
and so you liked the one you had, of course. Um,
So, yeah.
so, but I felt when I was a kid that the games that appeared on both Super NES and Sega were always better on the Super NES. But the one game that I disagreed was Jurassic Park. I felt that which was a completely different game on the Genesis, and I thought the
Yeah.
Genesis game, as kind of clunky as it is, because you can play as either Alan Grant or the Raptor, and neither of them control very well. But
Yeah.
and I could not figure out how the hell to beat the game with the Raptor because you get to
Hmm.
Alan Grant, and no matter how I approached him, he hit me with a taser. I could not get. I beat it with Alan, but I couldn't beat it with the damned Raptor. And boy, was that Raptor awkward to use. But still, I still think the Jurassic Park game on the Genesis was the superior version. The one on Super NES was just a completely different game.
Yeah.
It was okay, but I felt like the Genesis version was a better representation of the movie and more in line with what I wanted to play when
Yeah.
I thought about a Jurassic Park video game.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Herzog, do we have any relation to Warner Herzog? I hope so, but I doubt it.
Yeah. So my next game was Joe and Mac, and I
Mhm.
picked this one because it's another platformer, but um, to me it's Sega's answer to Adventure Island on the NES and Super NES, and because it's that caveman aesthetic and it just looked fun. So
It it's not the greatest game, but it's
yeah.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
fun.
not all games are going to be hits and
No,
amazing, but
not when you have a
but
group
it's
of
just
40 now.
it's unique and it looks good. Yeah, that's kind of why I put it there.
Yeah,
All right, so we also matched up on our next game, Kid
it's Keeley.
Chameleon,
No,
and uh, and this is one that again seems to be a pretty solid bet.
it's a Sega developed game.
Yeah,
It's with 30 games to pick from, I think that's a shoe-in, honestly.
Yeah, and it's another one of those games that's on just about every Sega compilation that you can purchase. So I wouldn't. I would be again surprised if they don't show up.
Yeah. As is my next game, Outrun. Which you'll notice I have a lot of the classic Sega arcade games on mine, and Outrun is one of them. And I mean, if you play the Yakuza games, if you go into the Sega arcade, you'll almost always find an Outrun machine. There's even an Outrun machine in the Fist of the North Star game. That's how
Wow.
ubiquitous this game is.
Yeah.
So I would be pretty surprised if we didn't see some of the Sega arcade classics like Outrun.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I think different I had a different racing game in mind a little later down on the
I
list.
think
But
your next one's a pretty solid pick.
yeah, my next one is Clax, and this one just is it's a puzzle game, and where little squares come down a treadmill or a conveyor belt at you, and you have to stack them properly or whatever it is. But it's one of those games that I recognize easily, and I think would be a pretty solid bet because we have Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and we figure Columns is going to be in there. But if they're going to throw in another puzzle game into it, Clax would be it. Is what I think. So
All right. Let's see. Okay, so the next one I have here is another one that we both share, Fantasy Star
yeah,
4.
yeah.
Um,
I have a few games before I get there, but
I was
yeah.
yeah, I was
Uh,
considering putting like another one of the Fantasy Stars, like probably two on there, but I was thinking, well, I mean, if you put 2 and 4, you kind of have to have the others, or because I think at least 3 was on the Genesis, if the first one wasn't. But
yeah, the first all four of them were on
all
the
4 of them are on there.
Genesis.
But
Yeah,
I'm like, they're
one
definitely
was on
not.
the Master System. I think two might have been the Master System, but
Yeah,
three and
but I
four
would be
were on
shocked if
there.
they put all 4 of them on there. So I was
Yeah,
thinking
I doubt they
probably
would.
one, and if they pick one, it's probably I think 2 might be the one that stands out the most, but
Yeah,
4 I think is probably the better game.
yeah. I think four is it's probably one of the best of that series. At least once you as if you're staying on the Genesis, I think it's the
Yeah.
one they would go with. And there's no worry that you're going to miss anything if the first three aren't on there because the stories aren't tied together. It's kind of like the Final Fantasy games, but the gameplay is pretty solid. The artwork is great, so I think yeah, it's a pretty solid bet, especially for an RPG to show up on this because I don't think there's very many. We don't. I think that's the only real or true JRPG on that we put on this list, as far as I can
Yeah,
tell.
I think so. Yeah.
Well, we got a strategy RPG on there a little bit later,
Right.
but
Well, and
yeah,
also I had the strategy game, the Werner
yeah,
Herzog one.
yeah.
Oh, and DG's also saying that it's worth mentioning that the emulation for the system, the Sega Mini, is being handled by M2, who've done the excellent emulations for 3DS and other consoles. So,
Ah, sweet.
and yeah,
Yeah,
because
pretty
I know a
solid
lot of people
emulation
were
there. Yeah,
disappointed with the PlayStation emulation. So, hopefully, hopefully, the
yeah. Well,
Genesis
and
backs up.
yeah, with the PlayStation thing, they just kind of grabbed the the first emulator they found. Is what it seems like. And
Google PlayStation emulator. That'll do.
yeah. All right. So my next game is I actually went with one that I only learned about this one
I
a few
considered this.
weeks
I
back.
I had it on my list
Yeah.
for a hot minute, and then
Yeah,
that
but
they got
this is Mega Man: The Wily Wars,
hmm
and what this is it's actually the first three Mega Man games redone for the Genesis, like new artwork and everything, and there's actually a fourth game in there that's unlockable once you beat the other three, and I just thought that was really cool when I learned about it, and I'm like, yeah, I think this would be great because we got a Mega Man game on the NES, and did they put a Mega Man game on the SNES Classic? I can't remember.
Uh,
Um,
Don't remember. I
Yeah,
was
I don't remember.
thinking X was on there, but I'd
But
have,
but yeah, but Mega Man: The Wily Wars. It's a unique take on Mega Man, or it's a unique to Sega Mega Man game, and I think you know Capcom should let them do it.
Mhm.
So, all right.
So my next pick is Pulse Man, which is it's published by Sega. But the reason I put it on my list is because it was developed by Game Freak. And
Really?
yeah, and I want to I kind it's a action platformer, and I kind of want to see the Pokemon peoples do an action platformer. It's really the only reason I put it on there. I know
Hmm.
almost nothing about it. It looks very Mega Man-ish. Um,
Yeah, it does look very Mega Man-ish. Yeah, but yeah, I now that I know that it's made by Game Freak, I'm kind of
you
like I
kind of want
want
to
that
play it.
on there too. Oh man, that is kind of neat. A neat little bit of trivia there. All right, so my next two are actually sports games. Just
Yeah,
because,
I thought about sports games, and then I got bored thinking about sports games. So I don't think I have to keep up
but I just figured, we got to have some sports games on here,
with this one.
and so what I went with was, again, the first one was again I was going with the Sega does what Nintendo don't
Mhm.
theme there, and went with Mutant League Football. It was a kind of a toss up between football and hockey, Mutant League Football and Mutant League Hockey, but I went with football because that's the one that I actually played, and I really enjoyed it. Even though I hear that the hockey one is actually probably the better game of the two, but I just think football would probably be a little more
It,
universally liked than the
it's
hockey
it's
is. But
football has broader appeal than
yeah, broader appeal. That's the word I was looking for. Um, but yeah, so um,
if but I mean if it was between Mutant League Ice Hockey and Mutant League Shuffleboard. All due respect to their shuffleboard fans, it'd probably go with ice hockey.
yeah, definitely. But yeah, but my next sports game was just NBA Jam Tournament Edition. I know NBA Jam was also on the Super Nintendo, but I think the NBA Jam games are just they're solid basketball games, and the Tournament Edition one was just the one that I went with because
Yeah.
it seemed like it had a more solid roster and
I
gameplay
also
and
think
everything. So
that NBA Jam was very emblematic of that era. Mostly the arcade, but if you were thinking of the home console edition of NBA Jam, you were almost certainly thinking of the Genesis version,
yeah.
not the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah.
So, Chaos
All right.
confirms that hockey is the better game. The
Yes,
AI
I was pretty
cheat.
darn sure that hockey was the better of the two Mutant League games, but yeah, as Andrew brought the term to my or brought it up, but football has the broader appeal, and but they're both fun games, and the concept of robots, aliens, and human mutants or whatever fighting. Killing each other on the field is great. I love it.
So I've floated the idea of a fighting game starring B mascot platformer characters like Arrow the Acrobat, you know, and so Sega's attempt at a mascot platformer back in the Genesis days was Rystar, uh,
Yeah,
which is the only reason I have it on there. I don't think it's that great of a game, but
yeah. I don't think it is, but
I actually would be surprised if they didn't put this on there because it's their
yeah, and
game.
yeah, it is their game, and yeah, I have it on my list as well for
Yes, you
pretty much the same reason. It's just it's a Sega game. It's pretty iconic. Like after Sonic, I think Rystar
You
is
remember
probably
it.
the
You
yeah.
may not like it. You may not have played it, but you remember it. You see a picture and you're like, ah, yeah. Even if the name didn't come up, you'd be like, yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And so you've got another RPG on there, Shadowrun.
Yeah.
And Yeah, it's
Another game that was published by Sega, so I felt comfortable putting. Of course, these are
yeah,
who cares, but yeah, the Shadowrun is a classic. It's published by Sega. Um, it's tough to play. It's just so damn old. It's clunky by modern
yeah,
comparison, but I think it's a really interesting look back into because there's nothing really that mechanically works like it today, unless you
yeah,
have
yeah,
retro
yeah.
indie games.
Yeah, to me, it's like going back and playing the first two Fallout games. You
Yeah,
know, it's they're back in the day they were pretty darn good games. They're still playable today, but if you're used to modern gaming design standards, they're tough to play.
I've
Yeah,
sometimes I go back and I look at games that I enjoyed in my youth, and I'm like, oh man,
yeah.
this is tough. This is clunky by today's standards.
So before we get into our next set of games that are pretty much line for line, I'm just going to throw in my racing game that I picked,
Okay.
and this is Road Rash, and this is basically combat motorcycle racing, and I thought that was just again that just feels like you know a game that you would think of when you think of Genesis games, and there was two Road Rashes, I believe,
Yeah,
maybe a three,
one I considered to also.
but I went with the first one just because you can't always go with the sequel. Sometimes you just got to go with the first one, and the first Road Rash is just is that to me. So
Yeah. All right. So next, we both have Shining Force 2, even though we already know that Shining Force 1 is going to be on there.
yes, it is, and to me, I think you got to have them both because
Yeah, they're
for
just
all the good that Shining Force is, Shining Force 2 just improves it tremendously,
yeah.
and I
Now,
don't think
if
I've ever
Shining
seen a
Force was,
compilation that didn't have both of them on
yeah,
there. So
had I made this list without knowing the 10, I probably would have just put Shining Force 2 on it, not both. But knowing
yeah,
that one is there, I have a high level of confidence that 2 will be on there
me
also.
too. Yeah, because it like I said, it just improves it on a lot, and um, and so next we have Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 2 and Sonic 3. We both have those, and it's just
Sonic 1 is already on there.
yeah, Sonic 1 is already on there, so it's just it seems a no-brainer that they would just go
Yeah,
ahead and
all the
complete the Sonic games. But I also threw in Sonic Spinball just because it's Sonic Pinball and they call it Spinball, and it just kind of funny. And
Yeah, I didn't have that. I had it at one point that got replaced, but all right. So let's see.
a slight diversion with your next
I
game.
thought
You went with Streets of Rage, and I went with Streets of Rage 2.
I'm looking at my original list. I have Streets of Rage 2 on it. I don't know if I somehow copy pasted into my email incorrectly, but I had Streets
You
of Rage 2 also.
yeah. Let me see. Oh, you did put 2. I just didn't write it down. Dang.
Zach
I
goofed.
Yeah, that's my fault. I goofed.
Oh,
Okay,
Chaos
so
River
yeah, we got
Sonic 3's
Streets of
got
Rage
some music
2.
licensing problems, so that might be a stumbling block.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, that might be.
Okay.
I didn't know about that. Is Fantasy Star 4 going to be on there? Yeah, that's
We
the
both have
Fantasy
that on there, so yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we both had Streets of Rage 2. I guess I didn't write that down. I'm sorry.
Ah, no big deal.
But I'll correct that on the article after.
We both also have what I think is a shoe-in, Strider.
Right. Yes. And that one
Which it's such a classic and fun game, but it is so damn weird.
it
I
is
have no
very
idea what's happening in that game at any moment, but it is pretty fun.
yeah,
I
and
do like the arcade version a lot
yeah,
better than the console.
and to me it feels like Sega's answer to Ninja Gaiden in a way.
Mhm.
And but yeah, it just it
It
looks a
plays
lot.
a lot better than Ninja Gaiden.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All right. So your next game, Super Hang
Super
On.
hang on, like Outrun. I think we're probably going to see a lot of these the classic Sega arcade games. If you keep seeing it in the Sega arcade and the Yakuza games, I think we're going to see it on the Genesis Mini Collection.
Yeah. So your motorcycle racing, you went with Super Hang On, and I went with with Road Rash. So yeah,
To be honest, I'd rather play Road Rash than
yeah,
Super Hang On, but
yeah.
there you go.
All right. So next you have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Hyperstone Heist.
Which I've that's a Konami game,
Yeah.
but it's one I've not played. But I hear it's not as good as the the Turtles in Time. But I hear it's still good. So
Yeah, I've heard it's good, but yeah, like you said, it's also not as good as Turtles in Time. But yeah, the turtles once they went with the 2.5D brawler style with Turtle 2, the arcade game. That's when the Turtle games just finally they started making sense, because that first NES game was just absolute terrible garbage. But
it was one of the games I had, so
exactly, I had it
I
too,
played
and
it.
I played it.
I got
I
really
managed
good
to.
at the first several levels.
Yeah, I managed, as a kid, I was able to finally get through the stupid dam section, and then I couldn't beat the rest of it.
I
I
just couldn't
just
beat the Technodrome because I could never find it before I lost all my turtles.
Yeah, that was always a pain in the butt. All right, so the next game we also both have the Ooze, and
Yeah, it
this one just you play as a puddle of acid
yeah
basically, and
looks neat.
it does. It looks very neat, and I think it's another game that's on the compilation on the at games thing, and I played it a little bit, and it's a very unique style, a very unique idea, and and I think it would be great to be on there.
Yeah, let's point
So
out Konami doesn't have the rights to Turtles anymore, so it's a long.
that that's a long shot, yeah, but that's okay.
Yep.
All
So we
right.
also both have Revenge of Shinobi,
Yes.
which
Again, another.
yeah, another classic of the Genesis era. That's a Sega developed and published game, so I'd be very surprised if that wasn't on there.
Yeah.
And we both also have something that the chat has been talking about, Vector Man.
Vector Man, yes, and this is one of those ones that again, it's um, a mascot platformer, but
Mhm.
it has its own unique play style, which and look.
And also, graphically speaking, its own look. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's yeah, because you play as a Vector Man, and he's basically uh, a a bunch of floating spheres of sorts put together in a man shape,
It always
and
looked like tennis balls to me. But
yeah, yeah. But it looks,
it's very neat looking.
it's very neat looking.
I
It's
don't
very,
think I don't think the gameplay is as interesting as the look, but it's definitely one of the games I think of when I think of classic
yeah,
Genesis. So another game I think that I believe is a shoe-in. We also both have Virtua Fighter 2,
yes,
and
and that's the only fighting game either one of us has.
you
So,
know,
and yeah, the Virtua
classic. It's the
Fighter
same
series is
game.
pretty solid, and I think it would be a great addition. I originally thought about putting a Street Fighter game on there because there were Street Fighter games and Mortal Kombat games, but I was like,
They're,
the
they're
Virtua Fighter is a little more
more emblematic of
unique.
Sega
Yeah,
Genesis. Yeah, I mean they
yeah,
were there, but they weren't really what you thought about when you thought of Genesis. Our next two, I think, are really interesting. I had Wonder Boy and Monster World.
yeah.
You had Wonder Boy 3.
Yeah, and I knew to me a Wonder Boy game was going to be on there, and I looked into the three Wonder Boy games, and it just seemed to me that Wonder Boy 3 was the most polished and interesting one of the games, and I was just so that's why I went with that one. But what 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 stood
I
out, Wonder Boy and Monster World
I
to
honestly
you?
don't remember because the numbering of the games, it's kind of like Final Fantasy where the numbering is different depending on what territory it is. So I'm now forgetting which game it
I
is.
think it's number 2, but it might be 4. I don't know.
I honestly don't remember because it's got that weird numbering system. So I don't remember why I picked that one, but I'm sure I had a
Yeah.
really good reason.
But it's also the only one that's not Wonder Boy and a number. It's actually
No.
has a title after Wonder Boy. So,
Oh, Chaos points out that Virtua Fighter 2 on the Genesis runs awful.
oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh well.
The next one's kind of interesting too. I had X-Men 2 Clone Wars, and you had X-Men.
Yeah, I went with the first one just because I don't remember too much about the second one. I remember playing the first one and liking it and having fun, having fun playing it. But yeah, I didn't. So I just went with that one because I figure, unless the second one was just that much better, just go with the first one
Mm,
because it
I,
was still a pretty solid game.
yeah, I think the Clone Wars is better, but which is why
Yeah,
I chose that one. But yeah, probably can't go wrong.
yeah, but I will say that
It's
the
a Sega published game, so
yeah, but I
again,
will say the X-Men games are on the Genesis are probably one of the best or the best Marvel games outside of like the Spider-Man franchise of all systems of that era, because the X-Men games on the on the NES were just complete garbage, and most of the Avengers titles and stuff were just not fun at all. But the Spider-Man games, most of the Spider-Man games were pretty solid. But yeah, the X-Men games I thought were some of the best Marvel Comics video games on the Genesis ones. So
all right, that's your full list, but I have one more, and it
yeah.
is the best one, Zero Wing.
Yeah, we saved the best for last
Right,
because the best
which is so far as
starts
I
with
know,
a
I don't
Z.
think it's ever been released in North America, not officially. But Zero Wing is the game that has the all your base are belong to us line.
Oh, okay.
That's where that comes from.
That's where that comes from.
So
Okay.
this is this was published by Sega in the PAL territories. Uh, so this is a long shot, but maybe I think that would be a really good selling point for Sega. It's like
Yeah.
you all know the all our base meme. This is the game it comes from. So,
I didn't even make that connection. But yeah, it's yeah, I think if they kept
which is why I
the
left that
terrible
52
translation,
because I
uh,
replaced zeroing.
yeah, but if they kept the terrible localization, I think that would be a great addition. Yeah.
So them's our picks for the remaining 30 games on the Sega Genesis Mini. I imagine we'll probably. When does the Genesis Mini come out? Is it summer or
September 19th.
fall? Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll learn a few more at E3 or.
Yeah, I have a feeling that they will announce the full lineup sometime in the next month or two, possibly at E3. I don't think they would wait after E3 to
mm,
do this, just because they want to build that momentum. They want to build that fan interest. So
yeah. Well, we're getting a little late here, so I think we'll talk about Star Wars next week.
yeah,
Um, but to close out, I would like to talk about something neat that Team Meat put on Twitter earlier this week. Uh, Team Meat, obviously the company that's doing Super Meat Boy Forever, is missing their April release, and they posted on Twitter the reason why, and I think it is if I may be cynical, if it's to be believed. But this is a really great reason. So they say, blah, 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 blah. We're very sorry. We're not hitting our 2019 release. We could have sacrificed our minds, bodies, and social lives to make April 2019, but that's stupid. Team Meat isn't some studio owned by an evil asshat corporation that has say
I love
what
your
we do in it.
clever capitalization there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
We are fortunate enough to have control over how we work, and we choose not to run ourselves into the ground. Game delays blow, we know, but we're close, so it shouldn't be too long of a delay. The next trailer will drop soon, blah blah blah. So not too far after April 2019, and we'll be at PAX. Um, thank you all for your understanding and being cool with this delay. I'm fine with that. That's good, and I like the fact. I love the fact that the team says, you know what, we could make our April date, but we would have to exhaust ourselves and harm ourselves. And you know what?
yeah,
As much as a video game fanboy as I am, I don't really want I love my video games, but I don't want them at the expense of someone's health.
yeah,
So, yeah,
exactly.
if you guys need a couple months to finish the game, by all means, take it. I have a lot of other unplayed games on my shelf of unplayed games to occupy myself in the meantime. It's totally cool. Do not pull a Sakurai and hook yourself up to an IV to keep working. That is dumb.
That
Sakurai,
is,
I
yes.
love you, man, but holy biscuits, man, don't do that to yourself. Oh, anyway,
Yeah. It's
I
always,
thought that was pretty cool.
yeah, it is really cool, and I like that. These guys, they're an indie self-published group, so they
I think
know their
people might
team.
call it indie,
Yeah,
you know,
but
technically,
yeah, but they're self-owned, or they're independent of any publisher. So, but they
there's
know
no
their team. They care about it. But
way forwards and
yeah,
what's the Shovel Knight guys? Full Sail? No, is it Full Sail? It's got something to do with
I'm not sure.
Yacht Club.
Yeah,
Full Sail's the school. Sorry, Yacht Club.
but yeah, I'm glad that they aren't going to push themselves, because
Yeah,
yeah, there's self-imposed crunch is just as bad as
studio mandate.
forced crunch.
Sure, publisher mandated. Yeah,
And I think self-imposed crunch is probably a little worse in some respects,
mm,
because with if somebody else is forcing you to crunch, you always have somebody else to blame. But if you're forcing yourself to crunch, you only have yourself to blame for anything that bad that happens to you. And that adds that extra bit of toll, to your mind and body, because you don't have anyone else to blame.
I also appreciate them not doing the thing where they release the game buggy and unfinished and say we'll patch it later after we've had a nap or something. It's like no, no, no. Finish the game, put all
Take
the
your
stuff
time.
in the game, then
Yeah,
sell it to me.
yeah,
I can wait. Yeah, talk to some of the major publishers when they announce games, and it's like, here's our game, and here's our roadmap of content for the next year. I'm like, I'm good. I'll wait a year and a half until you sell me the entire game,
yeah.
the gold edition or complete edition or game of the year edition or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So good on you, Team Meat. You take care of yourselves, you dudes and dudettes. Video games raw. Okay, so I think that's our show for this week.
Yeah.
Um, did you change your PSN account name?
Oh, yes, I did.
No, I didn't because mine's just my name. I was
Yeah.
fine with it.
Well, mine was uh E Zachary K, which is what I use for email and AIM and all that stuff. But over the last few years, I've been kind of rebranding my online presence a little bit and going with the name Hero of Dermwood, and that's my Xbox Live name.
And that,
That's what I use on Steam,
yeah,
and I also use it on Discord and a few other places. And it's just like, okay, well, now that I can change it on the PlayStation, I'm going to change it to Hero of Dermwood. So,
All right.
uh,
So that's our show for this week. For anyone who wants to see our lists of Genesis picks, it's on randomtower.com, so you can go there and check it out at your leisure.
yeah, and if you want to throw any games that you want to see that we didn't list, go ahead and put them in the comments. So.
Yeah, please do. Please do. All right. So, Andrew Eisen here. Eisen is the last name. Plug it into YouTube. Find my videos. I'll have a new debut review tomorrow. It's the Critters show.
Ooh, the
So,
Critter Show.
yeah.
That's coming out.
And I do a background replacement effect in my video. First time I've ever attempted anything like that, and it's predictably terrible. So you'll definitely want to do that. And follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen. So that's it for me. Zachary, plug away.
All right, you can follow me on Twitter at Easy Night, where I talk about gaming and politics and movies and other things that catch my interest. You can also follow my game development work at DK_gaming on Twitter and DivineKnightGaming.com. And if you're interested in the Oklahoma game development scene, check out OK Game Devs on Twitter and OKGameDev.com.
All right, and that's it for us. I hope you all have a happy Star Wars Day, because I think they're doing the Star Wars celebration thing this weekend or yesterday.
Yeah, was this week. Yeah, they did the Star Wars celebration. That's why the trailer launched or dropped.
I was like, boy, there's a lot of Star Wars stuff coming out. Is it D24 or whatever they're doing? No, they just had a thing. And EA, I don't trust you to make a good Star Wars game.
No.
You got a lot of work to do, and releasing a trailer with no gameplay doesn't help. So, anyway, we'll talk about Star Wars next week. In the meantime, have a lovely few consecutive days until the next podcast. Take care, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.